Hey, welcome back to After the Message. I'm here today with Adam Morgan and Benin Hodges, and I'm your host, Carter Collins. And we are here again to dig in a little bit deeper into some themes, concepts that we didn't get a chance to this morning. Great message this morning from Pastor David, and we're looking forward to just opening up and talking a little bit more about the abundant future of the next generation. And so, Adam, Benin, we got some people maybe tuning in today that are not used to thinking about student ministry. Maybe all their kids are grown and gone. Maybe they don't have kids yet. Whatever the case may be, give us just a little bit of a introduction to student ministry. What do we do here, and maybe why do we do it?
Yeah, man, we're pumped to be on, and I know, like you said, when people have moved down to those stages, it's like there's some things like you purposely forget, you know? And so, student ministry here, it starts in 6th grade, goes through 12th grade, and there is a huge difference in those age groups and in grades, and so we have it divided middle school, high school, 6th through 8th, 9th through 12th, and really this is middle school especially is that hinge of moving from being taught about faith to making it your own. And so that happens a lot of different ways, whether it's through middle school, high school Bible study. We do a united service where we actually get them all together, or probably the primary way that we disciple our kids is through our life groups. And we love our life group leaders. We have some of the best church family. So, yeah.
I would just echo that. Like, I think one of the things that you got to think about in student ministry is, I think it's healthy to have a both and of them being together, but them being separate, because there's different levels that you have to kind of approach them, and different topics that some kids are ready based on their age to handle, and some kids maybe aren't. And so I love kind of what we do and what we've been doing, like Uniteds and high school, middle school Bible studies, life groups. They've got a lot of different outlets to be talked to at their level and have friends that are going through the exact same things, but then also it's good to bring them all together. And really, I love the opportunity for our seniors and some of our older students to kind of set the tone for even some of our 6th and 7th grade kids, and see, man, that's a follower of Christ I want to be like when I get older.
So. They can see how they worship, see how they read the Bible. It's awesome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's great. So, Benin, you serve as our middle school pastor primarily. Adam works primarily with high school, but you guys tag team a lot of stuff.
Very much.
And lead our student ministry very well. So if you're watching, this is your first clue in on who these guys are, and now you know. Yeah. But, Jet laid out this morning kind of God's plan for the future of really each generation, you could say, but even for this next generation, and just that he has a life of abundance for them if they would take hold of it. But we focus in primarily kind of as a whole church on our seniors, and those graduating high school seniors. They're going off to college, and that falls under my purview. I get to see a lot of them for like a month, and then they go away for school. But get to minister to them. But a lot of times for these guys that move away, you guys are their primary callback, initially, at least, until they get to know me or some of our other college volunteers and leaders. You guys are going to be the ones they talk to, that they want to, seek counsel from. So just as kind of a fleshing out some of the more practicals of, okay, what does this look like when they go? Man, if you got a student that's calling you, first semester college student, so one of these seniors that we saw this morning in September, they give you a phone call and they're like, hey, I'm struggling, I'm doing this, and it's kind of generic, but they're just kind of down. What are some of the questions you guys are asking them to kind of probe at where they are spiritually? Just some practicals.
Yeah. First thing I would think is, I hope that they're not surprised. We've been telling them all these years, like, hey, it's coming. These things are coming at you, to try to prepare them for that. So when they come back, I hope they're not surprised. But then I'm asking, well, how's your time with the Lord? What friends do you have? And then mainly, like, are you plugged into a local church? Whether they've gone away, whether they're here, whether it's Hines, MC, whatever, like, hey, are you plugged into the body of Christ? I think is probably where I would start.
Yeah. Adam, double click on that local church for a second and zoom in. Like, why is that so important?
Yeah, I think one, you gotta,
Or if there's anything else you'd add, but
I think one, the local church is key. I think, having people to hold, like, accountability is everything. Like, I think in that, like, for attendance, and just making sure I am placing myself where I need to be, because I know that college is a place where it's really easy to place yourself where you don't need to be. But, like, being around Spirit-filled believers is going to awaken something in your heart as a student, as a senior. So pushing them to plug in. And I think sometimes, I think it goes back and forth. You can find a church first and then find friends, or you can find friends that help push you to a church.
Yeah, sure.
And so I think that one kind of goes in tandem. I found friends before I found a church. And so I think that was really everything for me, is just finding people that you would say, man, I like where they're headed. You may not be like, hey, they've got it all together, but like, hey, I like the values they have. I like the value where they're headed, and that matches up with me, instead of trying to fit into somebody else's values. And so just, man, plug yourself in. I think there's a temptation even to YouTube sermons and that be your kind of I'm doing church, but I think there's something about being in person at a church, and you know this well, that some of our seniors will have come and stay here, but then I think about those that are going away, and I'm like, man, just go.
Yeah.
Go. If you don't find friends first, find a church first, then you'll find friends. But if you find friends, they'll help you find a church. So
yeah, I think that's so important too, because mama's not waking you up for church, daddy's not waking you up for church, so that it's already going to be a struggle to prioritize that. But if you have friends that are doing it with you, on the weeks that you're tired or you stayed up later than you should have, you're going to have people that'll help you along in that.
Yeah. It's so important. And it just is kind of a plug for anybody with students who are about to graduate, or you got grandkids who are coming up or whatever. Like, we absolutely, as a strategy, say, plug into a local church wherever you go to school. And not just that, but like, we would love to help someone find a local church in that area. And more than likely, I would say, just having done college ministry here for a while, 80 to 90% of the college students that go away go to a school where we know a church pretty familiarly that we can suggest and recommend. If you're moving out to Arizona State, I don't know. I don't know a church, but even then, I would say we're committed to helping you find a local body. This is not just go off on your own and do it.
And that's what I was about to say, because we've had that conversation before, is that you do that kind of college tour and stuff. And I asked you one day, you're like, well, do you know of like good churches? Because like sometimes it seems overwhelming. I remember when I moved down to Mississippi, I was like, I don't even know where to start. Yeah. But like, I know we've had that conversation of like those different areas, like start, wherever they go, you're like, well, I kind of know of some churches that I would say, man, go try this one out, and so. Yeah.
I would say kudos to the college students because some of that information has come to me because our college students have gone out and tried different places and found healthy churches,
yeah. Don't do that alone.
Well, any other thoughts on that? Just that you would say to a college student who's calling back in September, and just a question that you're probing, asking, anything else on that?
No, I mean, I would just echo what Ben said, and just daily spiritual living. Yeah. Like, my first question I always ask, when was the last time you were in the Word?
Sure.
Like, when was the last time you were feeding yourself? Because that I think is primary, because, you're feeding yourself. I mean, we even know this, like, if you're only being fed on Wednesdays and Sundays, that's still going to be tough.
Right.
But, like, show me, are you daily in the Word, and are you seeking? All right, if we're there, we can start. But sometimes the reality is it's been, weeks or months.
Sure. Yeah, that's good. So zooming out a little bit, obviously the focus this morning was on those graduating seniors. They're going to college. That's the shift that we're highlighting. But you guys work with an entire generation. Not just one class or one group, but an entire group of young people, popularly known as Gen Z. These are young people who I won't characterize them for you. I'll just leave it at that. What is this generation? What are they like? Just tell us experientially, and then we can kind of see some things for there. But I want to just zoom out and look at, if we're going to talk about the future of this next generation, let's talk to the people who hang out with them all the time and see what are they like. What are they?
I would say this, contrary to popular belief, it is still very hard for even us to connect with them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's just the old man in me coming out, like, oh, this next generation, but or maybe that is a characteristic of them, of how different they are. Like, the things that they have, what's at their fingertips is so much different than even what I had at that age. But
I'd also say to that, like, because of everything that they have at their fingertips, you've got the world in a phone and can know everything. They're possibly the most unimpressed generation. Like, they're not impressed by things. Why? Because they've seen it. They've seen just about everything. I remember one of the things I used to go, there's this thing called the Power Team, and they were like these big bodybuilders or whatever, and they would like rip stuff up and then they share the gospel.
Rip a phone book.
Rip a phone book in half, or bend a pan or skillet or something like that, and then they share the gospel. And it's like, that was impressive to me.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, I've seen it.
Yeah.
And so, like, which is funny. But
I've seen a video.
I've seen a video of that, or 1,000 videos.
I think that's interesting. It might play into the next thing of, like, they've seen everything, but they haven't experienced it. Versus other generations maybe were like, well, I've done that. You need to get out and do this. They've sat in a chair and seen it all on, video clips or whatever.
Yeah. That's interesting, and correlating that to their spiritual journey. I often talk about in college ministry, in our church, I think this is kind of the heartbeat of our church is to offer something authentic, right? That we don't want to just offer something offer is such a strange word there, but we don't want to pretend like we're giving them something that they could get anywhere else. Like we're saying this, we want to lead you to the Lord and allow you to have a true, authentic experience with Him, which is not going to be something that you can say, oh, I've seen that. Oh, I've heard that. Oh, like, it's going to be something that you truly have a response to. So, like, when you guys talk about that, though, of, they're just not impressed by anything. I've seen it, whatever. How does that affect the way that you minister to them? And does it make it easier or harder?
Yes. Both. But I would say in some ways, I think what we've seen is an opportunity for the easy side of it, because relevancy isn't a top priority for them. Like, for us to be relevant to them and try to connect on their level, I don't think I've seen them care about that as much.
So you found that like, even though you struggle to connect on their level, like, they're not really necessarily interested in that.
Right? And I think in a genuineness, because they have everything at their disposal, they hear both sides of so many different things. They genuinely, in a lot of ways, just want to know what's true. Like, and I think that's what wisdom is. It's like, it's not, I hear this side, I see some things that I agree with here, I see some things I agree with here, but what's true, where do I land? And so as a generation, I think we found some freedom in that, not trying to be like, the most relevant people, but like, hey, let's just push towards truth. And I think I think this generation, I would say just a little bit more than generations I've seen before, are ready for that. They're ready for like, hey, just stop being tactful, stop being, this or whatever. Just tell me what's right.
Don't give me the package.
Yeah,
give me the
don't
thing.
give me just show me. Show me what it is. So
yeah. So obviously that you would on the surface, it's obviously a good quality to have in anybody. You're seeking the truth. So this generation they're not impressed by theatrics. They're truly seeking something that's real, and that kind of characterizes them. Do you see any pitfalls that go along with this, whether as it relates to as they enter into college and the workplace and married life, or even just where they are now, but talking about their future, like, is there potential for pitfall there as it relates to their culture and all that?
Yeah. I think there is so much of a desire for what's real, authentic truth that they can almost be lazy in waiting for it to just come to them.
Okay.
And so if I were to characterize it, I would probably say a pitfall would be a weak spiritual work ethic. And I don't know if that maybe even translates into just having a great work ethic and doing what's hard out in the workplace or studying or school or whatever. But spiritually speaking, I don't know if it's coming from, our generation being the microwave generation, and now they're, I don't know what you would call it, the 5G generation, where they,
instant.
If it's not instant, then I'll just wait till somebody brings it along. But yeah, a downfall I think would be when things aren't great, you're not on that spiritual high. Are you still striving and seeking after the Lord and what's true in His Word?
Yeah.
I think we were talking just about like that work ethic and that struggle, because there's so much out there. If you just a quick Google search,
Right.
You could find something that scratches that itch, or like the Bible says, tickles your ears, and it says, oh well, that's probably fine.
Yeah.
That appeases what I was searching for, instead of sometimes there's a legitimate struggle through, well, this is right, but I don't agree with this part of it, or this is right, but I don't agree, and struggling through what is actually true. And I think we talked about like how any kind of difficulty, that's where they struggle with the work ethic. Like when difficulty arises, they can sometimes like cower from that in ways. And I think even in that spiritual work ethic, like if it's too hard to find, they're like, I don't know if it's worth it.
Yeah.
And like, so having people to kind of,
well, and we know like that just runs antithetical to Bible study. Like there's so many things at their fingertips, like you see, like y'all are saying, that it's so quick, it's so easy to get, it's so easy to know. And so when, I want to hear from the Lord on this, I got a cross reference. I don't know.
Yeah.
Obviously that's a little bit of a caricature, but when it becomes a little more than just a one-step process, all of a sudden it's like, man, I don't know if I really want to
well, and it's
fight for this.
I think too, just a quick thing, like it's a you tell me thing, and not like a
let me go find it.
Yeah, let me go find, like that curiosity to like, do you have enough curiosity to go and explore, as opposed to just quick.
Right. And whether it's Bible study or introspective thinking or prayer or whatever, there's that tilling up, the uncovering what's underneath. And I think that they can think that when it's hard, well, then it's probably bad. Or well, if it's true, then it should just come easily.
I'm sad, therefore. I'm sad about what God is revealing in my heart as sinful.
Yeah.
Therefore, I probably shouldn't do this.
Right.
Right.
And I think, like, tying it all together, I know how we were raised. It was like, hey, the hard things in life, if it's hard, it's probably worth it. Whether that's raising a kid or, a strong marriage or, working hard, just, having a strong work ethic, it's worth it. Whereas now it's probably like flipped in a lot of ways of, well, if it's hard, then it's probably not the right thing.
Yeah.
Well, I think to that, like you look at Jesus, and multiple times in his life, there was great affliction or great difficulty laid before him that he knew about. And there wasn't a backing down in him from those things. Well, praise the Lord for one. Garden of Gethsemane, there's a struggle of his will versus the Lord's will. And he didn't back down from that and choose his own will, the easier way. He said, not my will, but your will be done. And I also think to the wilderness, and he's baptized and he's literally stepping into his ministry on earth. And it says the Spirit led him into the wilderness. And I'd read that many times. And I remember reading that and saying, wait, hold up. The Spirit led him into a place. Wilderness is representative all through Scripture of drought, of no rain, waterless, and also and two,
That's where things go to die.
Yeah, things go to die. But two, knowing that literally Satan was going to tempt him there,
Right.
and that's hard. That's a struggle. But the Spirit led him there for good. For the ultimate good of things to be done. And I think, too, in this conversation, as an example of how we don't back down through difficulty, but it's something to be, to have victory and to overcome. In 1 John, he says, I speak to you young men because you have overcome the evil one.
Yeah.
There's no overcoming if there's no difficulty or affliction.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, and I think that draws that distinction too between that Spirit-led diligence, which overcomes the enemy,
right,
and what you were describing earlier of just kind of I'm just going to let it come to me, and I'm just going to sit back. Well, we see in the garden, when we're just sitting there, he's coming anyway. The enemy,
right?
He's coming to them anyway. It's whether or not they're going to be Spirit-led and be diligent to push past that. That's super helpful. Earlier we said this a little bit about, because of how this generation is, they're not impressed. Some of the strategy of the church. So kind of going forward for the future of reaching this generation, right? Some of that response from the church is, man, we got to kick to the curb these ideals that we have made up of trying to be relevant to the culture. Like, that's not even, with this new young culture, not even what they want, really. But what are some other ways that the church can respond, or maybe even flesh that out a little more? But just what are some other ways that the church can respond as we go into the future with this next generation of leaders? And
I think I'm drawn to a few verses, Psalm 145:4 and 144:12. But 145:4 says, "Let each generation tell its children of your mighty acts. Let them proclaim your power." And so, just to that, our goal, our response is to tell. Anytime you get a chance to tell a young person of, and really just anybody, but a young person specifically in this context, of how mighty God is and how powerful He is, do it.
Yeah.
Do it, and because we're entrusting that to them. But then also in Psalm 144:12, it says, "May our sons flourish in their youth, like well-nurtured plants. May our daughters be like graceful pillars carved to beautify a palace." And I think in this conversation, sometimes where I find myself is yes, I hope that this generation grabs onto the baton and takes it, so that when we're gone, that it's left in good hands. But also I think, man, let's let them flourish now.
Sure.
Like, not just, it is a both and of investment for the future, but also like I had a kid tell me the other day, he was like, why can't, if God used 12 men to change the world, why can't he use me to change Brandon High School? Like, I love that thinking.
Yeah, praise
like,
God.
Flourish
Hallelujah.
now.
Yeah.
Flourish now in the way of like being spirit-led and seeking the advancement of the kingdom now. And I just love that for the church to say, hey, let's not just focus on the future for them. Let's focus on the now for them. Because if we focus on the now for them, I think their future is going to be in good hands.
Yeah. I would say just to kind of bring our church into our heartbeat for students and the next generation is that they would take their next step in their walk with Christ. So for some students, that could be a call to ministry or to pastor. For some students, it could be simply a surrender to Christ, to be born again, like wherever they are in their journey with Christ, to take the next step. And so I think just a major way, we do it at Crossgates just so well, but to pray for them. We see so much fruit with our wristbands that we do for camp and the weekend, but I'm thankful for everybody being faithful to pray for that. So praying for that. I mean, if you're ever like, hey, what are some specific ways I can pray? Have a conversation with us.
Yes.
We would love to bring you in on what's going on or what events or what life groups or even specific students that need specific prayers as well. And then I think just being open to if you're feeling led to serve the next generation, just to be open to whatever God might have. So not everybody is called to be a life group leader or to teach, nor is everybody has God designed them that way. But everybody can serve, whether that's giving of resources or giftings or, hey, God gave me this awesome house and property. Y'all come here for a hangout. Like things as simple as that are ways to bless the generation and to advance what's going on here at Crossgates.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thank you guys so much just for taking the time and preparing for this. And also, if you're watching today, I know if you do feel that kind of prompting or pulling of like, man, maybe I should be more involved in this. I know Ben and Adam would love to talk with y'all. Just find one of them.
Email us. Find us, bhodges@crossgates.org.
Or
amorgan@crossgates.org.
there you go. You can email them and get in touch with them. They'll be in touch with you promptly. And if you didn't get a chance to watch the message from this morning, we would encourage you to go back and watch that. You can do that at crossgates.org, as well as access all of our media resources and archives there. And we pray that today's episode has been a blessing to you.